think there's something, and I'm still forming, I think, as all of us are. But I think what there is there is something in the shift from a product-based mentality, which you can make a very compelling argument that, at least for in recent memory, has driven kind of the capitalistic approach of, you build a product and then you sell the product based on its features or its capabilities, versus trying to understand the situations and needs of human beings and responding to those needs. And again, the story becomes a facilitator of that transition, because you can't bring a product philosophy into that story, kind of with full fidelity, right? Because you have to kind of start to listen and understand the situation and the nuances of the situation as you try and kind of either retell or understand the story that you're looking at. And then in doing that, you kind of shift your perception more to a solutions-oriented or a people-centric approach. And it changes the way you think about products, it changes the way you think about development, it changes the way you think about the operational delivery of the service or the products that you're developing if you're an organization. My personal belief is that in the kind of society at large, largely influenced by kind of the rise of the internet and the digital revolution that we're experiencing, kind of an industrial revolution around digital, there is this dropping kind of tolerance for the hype or the, kind of the promotion of goods and services from organizations to humans. And as that tolerance drops, the need for transparency, honesty, and kind of actual value increases. The partnership has to exist. And I think for the first time, what's interesting is on the corporate side, you've got to really reevaluate what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I think at Microsoft, we've done a lot of work in the last 2 years to try and really kind of turn ourselves inside out and understand what it is we really stand for and what we're willing to stand for moving forward. And I think our conclusion is that transparency, honesty, a sense of being people-centric versus product-centric is at the core of our transition. But equally, on the other side, on the activist side, it requires a change in perception as well. You can't just default assume that any large organization is bad by definition or untrustable by definition. You have to really be willing to open up your head on that side of the equation and say, I've got to be able to look at that potential partner in a different way, and in some ways presume the best intent in order to move forward productively. A project that I worked on specifically called the Living Proof Project, which was really focusing on people and stories around the world where the investments that were being made were really making a difference. You start to see that these kind of very big business philosophies and processes applied to social problems. You see the shared desires. I'm fortunate to be in a lot of different settings, in a lot of different industries. I work across industries at Microsoft, and so I meet with a huge variety of people. And what I notice more and more over the last, let's say, 24, 48 months is the words, the aspirations, the things that people are talking about are increasingly the same across all of these. And so, at least from my individual experience, I see this kind of drumbeat of shared aspiration across industry, across societies, really, and really around the globe. And they're as big as the problems are, and they're enormous. I take great comfort and I find great optimism in this kind of choir-like chant of shared vernacular that's moving across all of us. And so being here for the last 2 days, it's very reassuring that we're all reaching for the same thing increasingly. And that to me feels like the beginning of getting to a critical mass where real change can take place. Diversity of thinking is essential when you're trying to create new systems. And so my encouragement to the kind of the roundtable is to do as much as you can to tolerate as many different points of view on the one hand, and on the other hand, to focus the direction of the problems as specifically as possible. Because the combination of specific work combined with diversity of thinking, I think, creates the most opportunity for forward progress.